Hi guys, welcome back to the Fitness Fix Montreal. My name is Patrick Ravel. Today we're going to have some fun because we're going to compare two products by New Age Performance. We're going to compare the 5DS to the 6DS, and we're going to try to find out which mouthpiece suits you for your sport. But first, do I really need a mouthpiece? Now that's a big question. It depends on the posture. There's 5 types of posture, but there's something that's in common. Let me show you the 5 postures first. Okay? Here are the 5 postures that you're going to find. Okay? The most common would be type 2 posture, which is a natural sway back posture. Okay? Where the diaphragm is shifted forward and the head, since the diaphragm is shut down, people start breathing by their mouth. And this is where a mouthpiece is useful because it's a jaw problem or a foot problem. The other one is a type 4. Now type 4 is interesting because 8 out of 10 people would feel that mole. It's when you put your center of gravity too forward, and then it could be a foot problem, a jaw problem, or a scar problem, fascia problem. Okay? So even if you're shifted forwards or backwards, if something happens to the diaphragm, your mouthpiece will be essential to keep the diaphragm in line so you can breathe better, and most important of all, not injure yourself during your training. Now the next phase is we're going to compare the 5DS to the 6DS. Stay tuned. Now before we continue with this video, I'd like just to mention something that's very important. What is the main difference between the 5DS and the 6DS? Lateral walls. Now, it's important when you push some heavy weights, which is squat, bench, deadlift, that your jaw stays in line at all times. The lateral walls on a 6DS are there to prevent you from moving your jaw laterally side to side. There was a study that was conducted by New Age Performance. They found there was sufficient loss of strength. Your 1 rep max was lower. Your stability was lower when your jaw moves side to side. So this is what they did. They added lateral walls, which you can't find on the 5DS. This is why this is such a great piece of equipment when you're doing heavy lifting. Now, if you want to do a test, try it out. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are chewing gum while you're lifting weights. And I'm sure that you find sometimes that your trainings could be a lot more efficient. Next time that you're chewing gum, stop chewing gum during your set. You can keep it in your mouth, but stop chewing gum and keep your jaw in line, and look how beautiful your set's going to go. Now, if you understand that principle of keeping the jaw in line, the 6DS for heavy lifting is number 1 in my book. Now let's continue with the testing. Welcome back. Now it's time to compare the 5DS and the 6DS. Which one do I need? Well now guys, if you have a 6DS, it's great for heavy lifting. Why? Because their center of gravity is evenly spaced, and sometimes, most important of all, we're going to be on our heels, right? We're going to try to put all our weight on our heels. So we get full range of motion when the weight is on our heels. Now the 5DS is pretty cool because if you try to stand straight, you won't get as much range of motion, which is normal because the 5DS is made for when your weight is shifted on your toes. Most sports, tennis, golf, every sport you can think of, you have to shift your weight in front. Now, when you shift your weight in front, you get optimal range of motion. You get the same range of motion with the 6DS. So I'll show you what I mean. This is me. I'm going to try to touch the toes. I can't touch. I'm going to put the 6DS, and I could touch. Now, if I put the 5DS in, I'm still a little bit locked. But if I put myself on a weight plate, I got a weight plate right there, and I'm just going to shift my weight a little bit on my toes, I get full range of motion. So you see that the 5DS is perfect for sports because you're shifted forward and it gives you full range of motion. The 6DS, your center of balance and gravity is more centered and you get full range of motion. So no matter which one you pick, guys, you gotta have the right one for the right tasks. Anything that it's a sport that's shifted forward, the 5DS gives you the same range of motion than the 6DS. If you're heavy lifting and you're doing some weights, you're not going to shift your weight forward. So the 6DS is really an optimal piece of equipment. So I hope you see that they're both the same. It's just a question of how the center of gravity works. Is it shifted forward or backwards? Sports are forward and lifting weights is backwards. So I hope this helps you guys. Follow my chronicles. Please subscribe to the Stretching Samurai channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.